Hi everybody. On the work table at the moment is a top which has literally taken me 10 years to pull together. There are pieces of textile in here that I've salvaged and cannibalised from stuff I've made over a decade ago. Okay, so this top's a combination of felting, this felt here, Nuno felting. This is a Nuno felted section over here, knitting, crocheting, and some hand stitching in various places that won't be that obvious at the moment. And I tend to do this a fair bit. I have items around my workroom which I have either lost interest in or cast aside because I thought they weren't working, and I'll come back to them and work on them intermittently, and they can often take up to a decade to get completed. This is what I feel is the back of the garment. It's very free-form in the way it's been constructed. As you can see, these sleeve holes are pretty loose. It's more of a sort of tabard style top. You'd have to wear a garment underneath it. So at the moment I'm inspired to actually finish this piece and put it in my upcoming exhibition here in Murrundi, which will be opening in about 5 weeks. And I want to make it into a dress. I want to make it into a full-length garment. So my idea is to add a piece of textile to the bottom of the garment. So I've got this lovely piece of bottle green knit, and I cut a section off it, sewed up the back seam here, and I've hemmed it with a bit of strip of knit, this light blue knit. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is put some embellishment on the surface. I'm thinking it's likely I may use no, I won't actually. I think I'll put some paint on it as well. And I've just decided that in this very moment right now. Okay, so what's going to happen is I'm going to embellish the surface of this piece of bottle green knit, and when it's complete I'm going to hand sew it into the bottom of that piece of knitted textile there and make it sort of a full-length straight kind of a dress. So I'll set this aside at the moment and just have a bit of a talk about what I might do with this. So I have this big reel of upcycled knit. It's a nice sort of light aqua blue colour, and I was thinking of just stitching it to the surface, couching it down with machine sewing in a sort of wriggly random patterns, maybe something like this. And I'm looking at it contrasted with the top and thinking, maybe I should put some more colour in there because it's maybe not going to integrate too well when it's monochrome and there's so much going on there. So what I'm going to do right now is, on impulse, I'm just going to pull out some stencils and a bit of paint and wax some decoration on the surface. So I'll pause now and come back in a little while when I'm prepared to do that. Back again with some bits and pieces I've organised here. So I've got one of my pressure plates that I've used a lot in previous videos, and I have a commercial stencil that I thought I may overprint this with. It's got a similar sort of structure about it with the squares and lines and spaces. And I've collected some colours together, some dark blue, my all-time favourite fluoro yellow, and over here I've mixed up some bright green with white to get this light green colour that I'm going to use with the pressure plate. So let us proceed. I shall load my sponge roller with paint in the tray. And because I'm working on yet another pretty hot Australian day, the trusty water spray is here to keep the paint open and moist and not drying out too quick. Here we go. Putting the pressure plate under the fabric. Of course, I have stitched it into a circle, which had I thought this through better, I may not have, because it would be obviously far more sensible to be working on the flat textile. But I'm never sensible, or seldom sensible. Okay, pressure plate installed there. Let's roll her over it and see what happens. Nice, I'm liking that. The paint is a little thick and dry, so let's get some water spray happening there to get a bit more open. As ever, that weird clanking, buzzing noise in the background is my fan, if you're wondering what that slightly annoying noise is. Pretty happy with that. I think I'm getting some really nice marks on that surface. Tricky bit, trying to move it over without smearing paint in places where I don't want it. You're welcome to try this at home if you wish, but I won't be held responsible for the results. All good. Okay. I think I'll just do this second print and then I'll pause for a couple of minutes while I get out the blow dryer and dry the surface, and you won't have to just sit there and listen to the blow dryer buzzing away. Because of the wet paint on there, once I move it around to the other side, I'm going to be pressing the wet paint down onto the table, and probably end up with some less than desirable results. Yeah, really nice marks, very effective, and of course it's pretty abstract gestural markings rather than the really engineered, clean and tidy ones, because I want to emphasise this is a handmade, hand-printed garment. So I want to show some of my personality, my chaos and imperfections coming out here Okay, now this is what I was a bit concerned about, is laying this fully wet paint on the other side on the surface of the table. I'm not sure what might happen once I start pressing down on this, but I've done it anyway. Excuse me leaning across the work and revealing my thin balding head. Yes, quite fearsome. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, so this paint's going on to totally dry fabric. It's about 30 degrees Celsius here in the workroom, so it's setting up really fast. So I'm going to take a punt here, print on it, and hope that I don't make a big stuff up. And if I do make a big stuff up, you can follow through while I make it come right again. So essentially I'm doing an all over marking on this piece of textile. Often I just do parts, you know, just areas, but in this case, because I'm liking the way that lattice is turning out, I'm going for the whole piece of textile. Here we go. So this is going to be imprint number 4, and it's going to complete the whole circle of fabric. Now I'm just rolling up the last bit of paint on the dish there, which always pleases me mightily when I don't have any waste. Right, so that's the lattice print applied all over. Now I am going to let it dry out before I overprint with the next layer, so I'll pause and be back momentarily. Okay, back again for the next overprint. I've got my fluoro yellow dumped in the roller tray over here, and the textile has been dried out, and I'm going to overprint this with this commercial stencil and see what effect we get, which means I'm going to lose that pretty nice structural print, but let's see what happens. Okay, pretty sort of Aztec-y. yeah, it's really obliterated that underneath print. There is a chance that as this dries out, it might fade out a bit. It's really absolutely wiping out that previous print. But not in a bad way. Still enough of it coming through. So let's do the next. Now, if I just go around the bottom part, I can create like a border rather than committing to printing up there at this stage, so that I can retain some of that pressure plate print that I'm so happy with. Printing in my usual very casual way, just holding down the stencil with my hand, not taping it or weighting it or securing it. So it's actually moving around somewhat when I'm printing on it to make a less than perfect print. Okay, so that's good. Now I'm going to have to shift it around somewhat, and I'm going to hit it with the heat for a moment before I do that. Now, of course, if I feel that this fabric is not going to work well with my knit top piece, I'm not obliged to use it in any way, and it'll go into that pile of stuff I referred to at the beginning of the video that I just set aside, and it will get taken up in another project for the future. But at the moment I'm feeling relatively confident that it's going to work quite well with the existing knit top attached to the top to make it into a dress. We shall just have to wait and see when this is done. Okay. Okay. So probably 2 more prints on here. And a little sliver to cover up that gap there. cool, as they say, except it's damned hot in truth. All good. Okay. I'm going to dry that out and come back in a bit again. This is the result, and I'm pretty happy with it. And in fact, I have decided I'm not going to go stitching this on, or maybe not now. I'm looking at it and thinking, oh, maybe I will after all. This is how spontaneously I work. Not really sure. Maybe I can do a little something through there. Who knows? I'll have a look at that. I certainly won't be doing the all-over massive thing I was originally plotting, because I think this is going to be perfectly adequate. Perhaps, we'll see. Now, let's have a look what it looks like combined with the top. So when I'm happy with this skirt, I'm just going to pin it underneath here. This is the hem of this is very uneven, so I shall be having to pin it with a little bit of drape happening over the top, and then I'm just going to hand stitch it in there invisibly with a needle and thread. So at this point I'm thinking, yeah, that came out pretty nicely. It's going to integrate quite nicely to the top part, and I might go away and sew a little bit of a wriggly thing around there, or shall I not? What to do? I'm really thinking maybe I'll just keep it really simple, because had I gone the route of doing the other embellishment with this strip, I could have spent another whole day preparing this, and I can assure you I've already put innumerable hours into the top part. So yeah, sometimes I will put 500 hours into an object, but I'm going to pull back at this stage and just sew the skirt in, and I'll come back and show you in a little while. There, it's done. After a decade, I'm finally declaring this piece of collage finished. I've stitched the skirt in. There's no way I can show you this whole garment laid out on the work table here full length. I'll have to put it on a dress model and do a walk around video so that you can see how it looks hanging downwards. Oh, look at that little thread there. Don't mind threads, but that one's not quite right. So there it is, stitched in. Let me show you the inside. Because this green knit is knit, I didn't need to worry about anything separating here, separating on the raw edges into, like a woven fabric. So I was able to just leave that edge completely raw. It's stitched in there by hand. I had the option when I did this of perhaps sewing the skirt upwards and then turning it back and letting that seam be hidden inside that bagging out. But I decided not to do that because I really want the weight of the skirt to pull the top part of the garment down, but I want it to move quite freely and not have any rigidity around that area, which would be at the lower part of the hips. So I didn't do that. I've just left it with the raw edge showing. So that's it for today. I'll put the now completed garment on a dress model tomorrow and do a video walk around so you can see how it looks standing vertically.